vulgar. Hold on, let me
It'll
run the
be
intro.
ASMR.
You might want to take the headphones off. It gets a little loud with this. Oh, I can't spend the nose. It's amazing what logical can do. Oh, can you tell us all? Did you see it? I'm glad stopping by. Take him to him, baby. Take him up again. Oh, can you tell me who? Yeah. I gotta go back and change the information on this because it's mislabeled, but the one and only Serin. Oh shit, motherfucker, what's going on? No one else has matched the energy on the way in. Nice job. That was crazy.
Thank you so much.
Go straight to the rodeo.
It's the coffee.
It's the coffee.
It's the yeehaw.
2 sips in, you're like, let's
Yeah,
get
dude, that's
it.
all I need. Okay, I did pregame with black tea.
Nice.
So
My Nana drank a pot of black tea every day, and she was on top of it her entire life.
that's what I'm talking about.
Coffee does not seem like you should drink a pot a day. That's going to give you a Billy Mays level aneurysm. One of my favorite phrases ever. Inappropriate? Yes. On the nose? I think so.
Absolutely. Me and Nana, we got it going on.
Why? Damn straight. Nana was the shit.
Let's go, Nana.
But I do feel like there's something about black tea that's different in terms of the effect it has on you long term. Have you always been a tea drinker?
So I get hyper fixated. Like I had an era with grilled cheese. I kid you not. I consumed
Repeat that again. I was looking at my computer and then you bring grilled cheese and this. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I get hyper fixated on things.
Okay.
Like for a brief moment. So I had an era with grilled cheese where it was literally grilled cheese for brekkie, lunch, and dinner. I kid you not, for 3 months.
3 months?
Yeah.
What
like,
did that do to your digestive tract?
That's why I stopped.
Okay, cool. You're like, this has become a problem for me
I don't
anatomically.
think I can. Yeah, literally. I was like, I don't think this is good for me.
I'm losing
anymore.
bone density at an inordinate rate, and I don't understand what's going on with
Yeah, I'm
this.
losing hair, but I don't understand why. Maybe
That's
it's like,
so funny
yeah.
to be like, yeah, my follicles are reflecting my cheese intake, and girl, it's gotta stop.
That's literally exactly what I thought in my head. My follicles.
And what started this fixation? Was it just like, oh, I've started to get in the game? And
It was called, I was being hosted by my mentor and his lovely wife during graduation because I had graduated a semester early. And the way for graduation works is because I went to a music school, they have like a massive like graduation performance. And you have to be there like 2 weeks in advance if you're part of that performance show. And because I graduated a semester early, I didn't have a place to stay. Wow, this is becoming a long story, but I promise this will all connect to my moment.
Really quick, you got a
fixation.
YouTube page?
I do.
Serin Oh official?
Yes. Or Serin Oh Music, I forgot. I changed the at.
Okay.
It's one of the two. Basically, and then I stayed with them, and then Marla, the lovely wife, she goes to this bakery, and I kid you not, they had the best sourdough bread I've ever had in my whole entire life, mixed with this cheese. I don't know what it was, but then she made this grilled cheese for me, and that's when fixation started.
And this was like, okay, I had the first one, it was incredible, and now I'm trying to pursue your own artistic interpretation, or that.
It's that. It's like when
That's
you get
a hard
high
chase.
and
What
you
up?
chase that.
But exactly, it's like, and the first one's always
The best.
yeah, you
Right.
never get back to that place.
Right.
And there's something weird about cooking. The more time you spend around it, the less romantic the first bite is. For some people, I think that's different. But like my mother, I grew up in a home where my mom cooks like a motherfucker, just always great stuff. And she says by the time
Like
I'm
what
done
kind of
making it,
stuff?
anything. I mean, from like chicken cacciatore, like gorgeous Italian food, to some of the best steak I've ever had. Italian hoagies. She's an Irish woman, but she cooks
She's rocking
like,
that Italian.
She's incredible. But she says, like, by the end of the day, like, you almost don't want to eat it. You spend all this time leaning over it, smelling it, testing it. That by the end, you're like, all right, I hope someone else enjoys this. You know, did you kind of feel that way after months and months of this? Or one day did you wake up, you're like, I'm an addict. I have a problem.
See, I feel like it's different than like these beautiful dishes that your mom made because
yeah, it's a grilled cheese.
It's a grilled cheese. It take a solid 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Patience is not my virtue.
Is that a personality trait though? Do you have hyperfixation on new things to that kind of extent?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And that's something that I've been working on the last 2.5 years.
Really?
Yeah. It's just committing and committing. Right.
Interesting. So you're kind of going the opposite way. It's like you noticed you had this personality trait for, you know, some people misinterpret their flaws and their superpowers, and it's like your framing of these things is how you do it. You know, like so much of the world is now in the ADHD category. It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have such, you know, flat tasks in your life. Maybe you're a more creative soul than that.
Right.
To say like, oh, I kind of get hyperfixated instead of saying like, oh, I have a grilled cheese problem and I probably need to see someone for a psychological analysis. You're like, oh no, this is part of how I ball out, whether it's going to be from a production standpoint or a songwriting standpoint. Like, what's your current fixation?
Well,
this doesn't sound like it's going to be good.
No, this is a deep one. Are we diving like head first right now?
I have nothing but time.
Let's go. Okay. I'm 0 to 100. I can't do the how's the weather.
No.
Ciao.
I like people who live with a certain reservation for depth.
Yeah.
Where they're like, I don't want to make small talk with you. I'd rather die. And like, I get we're at the BMV, but tell me how you feel about God. Who is they in your life? You know? And they're like, I have other customers. It's like, I'm all that matters right now. Tell me about it.
That's so funny you say that because literally I was at a Cafe Machiko. Shout out. They're so good.
I'm familiar.
And so was I until on Saturday. My buddy, I'm moving to Dallas, holla, and my friend was like, let's go celebrate. He took me to Cafe Machiko, and the waiter was like, hey, why are you going to Dallas? And I was like, well, it's an intersectionality of music and Jesus. And he was like, whoa. And I was like, how do you feel about Jesus? And we had this conversation. So right now, when you're like, what have I been focusing on? It's been my faith.
That's really cool.
It's changed me, man. I grew up in church, but man, it's different.
When someone takes it on in their adult life, it's so different than growing up as a child with a predisposed background of religion. And it's great to find that, whether it's a vocation, the musical calling that you have, or just like a personal development. Like, I need another dimension in my life. This does not feel like enough. And I think the great thing about faith of all sorts, however you find it, is that it's supposed to be a quieting of the existential concern and more of like a diving into it as an open-ended question that you can enjoy. Like, what is life? What is God? Why am I doing this?
Is that what you're on right now?
I grew up Catholic, and I would... even though some people may not say I'm doing it well, I'm a card-carrying Catholic. Like, I fall in the category. If I'm going to go to church, that's the place I go. My kids are going to come up in that.
Card-carrying Catholic. I've never heard that before.
I have very differing views than I'd say what they're telling me to believe.
Right.
But I don't give a shit. You're not kicking me out of my cult. Like, I'm here to ball out. This is my game, you know? Like, and because I came up with a moral background, like every year of schooling I had from first grade through college has been in Catholic schools.
You even went to Catholic college?
Yeah, I went to Xavier.
Oh, whoa, that's a great school.
Yeah, it was a good time. And I think having that kind of structured view of the faith that I'm being told is my religion is like, I've just personally taken a step to the side and said, I'll make of what I want to make of it. But I'm not in a place that I feel like I want other people to tell me that I'm right or wrong for thinking certain things. I'm just here to enjoy it and utilize it as needed for my own purposes and figure out how I feel I fit into God's plan in my life. And it sounds like for someone like yourself that's about to make a dramatic step, but you have this calling to do so, was there a light switch moment, or was it like this slow buildup in the back of your mind?
Yeah, it was like, man, also, thanks for sharing that your like brief journey with, I mean, not brief. Like, it's literally a big part of your life growing up Catholic. I have a lot of friends that identify themselves as recovering Catholic.
Yeah, I think that term is hilarious. It's because any anytime you're given a faith and you choose to go a different direction from that, it can be traumatic. But I think there's also a level of saying, like, I don't want to be a victim to my circumstances. I just want to be the interpreter of how that pushes me forward. And I got what I want, and I'm leaving the rest. And say la vie, let's have a good time with it. You know,
say la vie. No, literally, because I grew up on, I guess, similar in the sense, like, I feel like in my brain, my non-Catholic brain, but having met a lot of friends who are still card-holding Catholics, as you said, there's a lot of rules that it feels like you have to follow. And I grew up Baptist, same thing. There's like all these rules. And I was blessed, though, to have a dad who, he came to faith on his own, too. Like, he grew up Confucius. No. And so, like, and then him becoming a Christian was a big deal because then he didn't perform these, like, rituals with my grandparents because it's so intertwined in Korean culture, like sacrificing. Did you watch Mulan?
I've watched Mulan as a child, but I don't remember any of it.
Essentially, it's like worshiping your ancestors. That's like Confucianism. And so it literally embedded into the culture. And my dad just like wouldn't participate in bowing down to the ancestors and stuff. And he would literally get like kicked out of these like family unions and things like that.
Did he immigrate or was he born in the States?
Oh, I was born in Korea.
No way.
Yeah, wicca wicca.
That very rad, very rad.
Yeah, thank you. English was not my first language. But this connects because of the way that he encountered Jesus, he created that freedom, like that space for me and my brother to kind of be. Like, we grew up in the church. All he asked was show up at church on Sundays. And I would go to these parties and stuff, come back smelling like weed, you know? But he was like, you good? I'm like, I'm good. I'll see you.
You know? Don't want to talk about it right now. I'm kind of having my moment.
Yeah, no. I was like, yeah.
This ain't the average Bath and Body Works dog, okay? These scents ain't free.
These scents ain't free, brother. No, I was the non-stoner kid amongst the stoner kids. I felt like I had the honorary, like...
You got secondhand. You're lying to yourself.
Always. No,
I mean, one of my favorite things with Kanan would be getting him secondhand high. I quit smoking recently.
Oh, congratulations.
I went the sober route for a little while.
Yeah.
It's been a good change of pace.
Let's go.
But boy, did I love like getting him unawareedly stoned. You know what I mean? And just like listen to him trail off and come to the reckoning. And like we've known for a couple minutes, Kanan's a loose cannon as is. Yes. But then he starts getting all vegan on us. You know?
Not his veganism popping up.
No. He's the absolute best. And like for a sober friend, he sure is inebriated on life. I mean, he's just out, and I love that about him.
Literally,
a fucking champion of it.
Kanan's a friend of ours. That's a killer bassist and a cool vegan, I guess. Yeah. Oh yeah, faith.
No, you're talking about coming home after weekends to hang out with friends. And it's like having a casual relationship with your dad about where that fits in your life.
Yeah. And all he asked was come to church on Sundays, but it was all these like unspoken rules that I felt like I had to abide by, especially as a woman. I felt like I had to be a certain way. I had to be quiet. I don't know, just like all these rules that my parents didn't articulate to me, but just being in the religious space, I felt like that's how I had to show up. And then I went to literally one of the most liberal schools ever in Boston. Like, come on, in Boston, where like literally girls and guys are roommates, you know, the bathrooms are unisex. And like, and then I encountered this environment where it felt like freedom. It felt like people could just choose to be who they were. And then my sophomore year, I studied abroad in Spain, and that was the first time in my life I did not go to church, like at all. And I did everything that like was supposed to be freedom, you know, like
hashish.
Literally, that's when I got high for the first time. You know, it was in Copenhagen. I had to.
Yeah,
and like
you did the right thing.
Right. I have to. Like, come on.
But they all smoke so much hash over there. I really don't understand why the preference is hashish.
Hashish. It's the European way. What can they say?
I only smoked hash one time, and it was a joint, and it burned for so long. We listened to Led Zeppelin 2 twice, and I had no idea. And I was like, this is getting confusing.
You're like, I don't know what color is what. Like,
do you experience synesthesia at all?
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely don't, but hash brought it on. I was like, Led Zeppelin 2 is perp, daddy. That's crazy.
Perp, daddy. That was the day your eyes were open. Yeah, no, literally.
And crossed at the same time.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Like, where am I looking at?
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh, where were we at?
You were Copenhagen.
Yes, wow, Copenhagen. We're following.
Yeah.
And you know, just kissing cute European boys and like just doing everything, like getting plastered, clubbing, partying. I don't know, just like the whole nine, what I imagine freedom to be. And like, I remember it was May. I'm couch surfing at this point. Done with the semester. Matt, let me tell you, I was just like, I'm free. And there was a night where I was just like, bruh, I just feel really empty. Like, you know when all the noise is silenced and you're just by yourself. And I'm like, the besties that you meet at the club bathrooms, right? Like all these, like, I don't know, moments where you feel like everyone's your best friend or all this stuff. Like, I was like, none of that is lasting. And I kind of had that realization, and that kind of set me down on a spiral of like, okay, I feel like I did everything that was supposed to make me feel free, but I feel more tied down, if I was honest. And then I moved back. Ooh.
I thought that was going to be an awesome burp. Really disappointed.
Man, I do have really tiny little burps.
I prefer to call them mouth queefs, and people dislike me for that.
Yeah, I don't know if I subscribe to that. But
yeah, I totally get it.
You know, lean with it.
You know, the bumper stickers are selling better than people expect, so let's just say I'm winning on the inside.
Yeah.
In my Etsy pops.
Shout out to Matt's Etsy Pops.
This is a crazy faith-driven conversation with these bizarre. Okay.
No, but we have to intertwine us.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where it is.
That's the honest thing about it. It's like, you know, Catholic priests don't really go off on their homilies the way they should. It's not as humid as one would expect. But I love where a priest is like, it was New Year's 2003. I was on sabbatical, and I was a little too drunk to be out there blessing people. But here I am, baptizing a guy in a drain puddle. Say la vie. I
was like, is this based on a true?
No. That's absolute nonsense. But
I was like, dang, what parish did you go to?
I keep going back to that. That'd be rad.
Yeah, you'd be like, shoot, let me hear more of what you got to say. And then I went, where are we at?
You're
back to Boston.
Back. Yeah.
Back to Boston, and then my dear roommate, she dragged me and my other roommate to church, and that was the best decision ever because of that. Like, I like met this older girl named Sophia, and she had a very similar growing up background as me, and there's been a lot of, okay, we're really diving in.
Yeah, go jump play.
A big thing in my journey too was like, since 5th grade, I had a boyfriend or was like talking with a guy, and so like my identity was so wrapped in what another person said, specifically like my romantic partner, and there's just been a lot of my introduction to like any type of sexual whatever was just not the way that it should have been, and she had also had a similar journey. And the moment that I met her, she was in this lovely relationship with this dorky little man named Steven. They were so cute, and like she was about to be engaged, and the way that I viewed her was this this sounds so dramatic, but like angelic type of person. She was just so present and kind and zero judgment. And to hear her story was very similar to mine. It kind of opened up this lie that I had about myself, that this is who I am. Like, I am XYZ forever. Like, because I did XYZ, this is who I am. And I'm just going to double down on that identity. And seeing what could be by like literally physically seeing a girl that was like a couple of years older than me, living this humble, gentle, radiating life. I was like, what is that? How do I have that? Because, you know, like when you encounter someone who has this level of assurance, you can feel it. Mm-hmm. You're like, you know who you are.
There's people that have that aura about them.
Yeah.
And sometimes we like to assume that people are born that way. But I think that is a discipline, you know, whether it stems from a grilled cheese obsession or it's someone that along the way in their life fell into a reservation of depth for, I'm here for not very long. Let's see what I can make of it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the great things about however you find spirituality, even if you haven't found it yet, is to say, like, I'm open to whatever that message might be. Because when you live in such a black and white world, there's no room to interpret things for your own needs. In this chapter of my life, I feel like God has been screaming certain things at me through friends and a good book every once in a while, and a movie, or sometime a dude in traffic. It's like you never know where the message that you're needing is clearly in front of you, and your blinders about what's next or what happened pull you away from making something of that.
Wow, Matt, you said that so well, because that was literally at that moment. I can be quite dim, and God was screaming a lot of, not screaming, but he was just like, hey, this is your identity. Your identity isn't what you have done, but your identity is the fact that me, as the artist of this whole entire world, decided to craft you. Therefore, you're my masterpiece. But I was putting my identity in all the things that I've done rather than who my maker was. And so that was something that he kept on telling me through my relationships with people. And then I think I read an article this morning. It's been like 25 years that SpongeBob came out or something. Crazy.
I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah, I know, literally.
Dated.
What? I'm 20 years
Bitch,
old.
you would spider lap Cheetos, you know? Like, you old. I had a bag of Cheetos that were labeled for ingestion during the year 2022. I ate them this year. I didn't eat many of them, but I do think it helped the embalming process start early. I am stronger.
Let's just say that.
Let's just say, girly, I'm going to make it. Okay?
Yes, you are. Hey, cheers to that. Sip right.
Grown bitch. If we need more coffee to really pop off, I'll make you talk at the microphone by yourself, and I'll brew us some more in a little bit.
Okay, wow, rock and roll.
Yeah.
Where are we at with this story? Oh my gosh.
We kind of just gone on the tangent of, you know, like as much as God screaming at you doesn't sound that pleasant, right. Sometimes it is. And you were talking about kind of feeling that
identity
in this moment, from going to church with your angelic friend, meeting her dorky little boyfriend.
The best. He's wonderful. I love
your
him.
Reassurance too. Like, I realized I said that wrong, and then you're like, lovely.
He's honestly the best. Like,
and kind of finding who you are in the place with your maker.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So that leads me to the last 2.5 years, because the reason 2.5 years is such a big thing for me is, this goes back to the question of what have you been hyperfixating on, essentially. Like, what has been like the focus recently, right? Because we were talking about grilled cheese. Focus,
the hyperfixation.
Hyperfixation. Well, so then I had a crossroads moment of like everything that I thought I wanted in life. Once again, I graduated, and then now I'm into adulthood. I started releasing music as an artist, was making music with a really cool person, and we also happened to be dating. And then I came to a crossroads of like, oh my gosh, all of my dreams or the things that I thought I wanted is like starting in front of me. But I realized I was doing this journey without God. And the crossroads was, there was literally like, I was living in London. I was with this guy who was really amazing and kind, and like was making music that I was like, whoa, I feel like this speaks the soul language, and like just literally everything I thought I wanted and what I was putting my identity in. And then there was God. And I felt like in December of 2021, it was either, are you going to go to this or are you going to go to this? And like in my heart, I couldn't do both. It was one or the other. And that was the first time in my life where I was like, okay, God, what would it look like if I did give my all to you? First time in my life. And so that literally practically looked like me moving back home with my parents to Dayton, Ohio, with like no music connection whatsoever, starting from ground zero, doing a 9 to 5, exploring who I am and my identity. And man, God was so kind because I was like kicking and screaming, but little did I know my foundation was just built on jackety stuff. You know, I was just like layering bunch of just putting things on top of each other just to hold myself as long as I possibly could, but with the things that I could grab. But God was like, okay, let's like let go of all of this, and then we'll start building a foundation that is like really sturdy, so that you can like breathe and work in a pace that's meant for you, rather than the pace you think you need to work in, and in the direction you think you need to go in. And so the last 2.5 years has been me learning what freedom, like real freedom, looks like. Not what culture defines as freedom, which is full independence, but I almost want to make the argument like fish has I promise this will tie in. Like if a fish just did whatever it wanted, and let's say it just wanted to chill on a couch, like it's not going to be free because it doesn't have the space or the environment to freely move the way that it's supposed to, right? It's only when it's in the water that it can freely move. I don't know if that connects, but like I think we're all created in an environment where we naturally thrive. Yeah. And I realized that I didn't know the environment that I naturally thrive in until I was like, okay, God, who am I? Why have you made me? What's my identity? And the last 2.5 years has been that foundation being rebuilt. And it's cool that now I'm going to Dallas. So I feel like, okay, now next chapter. So that's what I guess I've been like hyper fixated on is his voice and like what it means to live a life following him, like legit, not the culture. Not frick the culture. I'm talking about following Jesus and the way that he called his disciples. Because, man, if you ever read the book of Acts, those disciples are wild, like wildin'. And that's the life I want to live. I want to live a crazy, adventurous life. Yeah. And so I guess that's where we're at.
I think you'd ask about the audience of something like this. I think that the beautiful thing about the internet is that there's passive impact in the work you choose to do. People can find things at the right moment for them, even if they're not the present moment for you. You know, like we don't need to be sitting in front of each other like you and I right now are, which is a blessing in and of itself to get to sit down with a friend and have that. But when someone finds you being so honest about pivoting passionately and going for the next step, the further degree of what it means to find oneself in the world and put that into action. That's the audience. That's the only audience that matters, is the people that can resonate with you trying to do what's best for you next. And like we kind of talked about, I think when people reach for God or spirituality, it's to quiet some of the existential angst and start to develop the existential question. Who am I? Is almost unanswerable. Every day you are a version of that and a version of this, and you're constantly evolving. And every time you try to pinpoint it, you are going to miss. There's almost no purpose in it. But when you let yourself be part of one's creation and called into a plan that you may not need to know to be a part of, that is freedom. That's such a beautiful thing. And you really blew my mind. What is it, 2 weeks ago now, a week ago now, where we're sitting at the showcase, and you were talking about that 1 million stream mark, which is a number for all singer-songwriters and artists right now, saying, when I hit that, it'll be enough. Was it the day it happened that you found out that wasn't enough, or when did you come to terms with that?
It's so funny how we grow up hearing like, oh, money isn't gonna make you happy, or like these numbers aren't gonna make you happy. But I was in denial that I thought hitting a certain number would mean I would finally feel like a real artist, or I didn't know I had put these expectations on myself. To go back to the question of like, oh, when was it that you kind of realized that this wasn't what will fulfill your happiness? Is that kind of the question?
Yeah, and I think specifically relating to that one goal that you talked about, doing the research, looking at how you get these numbers up, how you work on that, and the whole time you're being told this one thing: 1 million streams is when you're worth a shit.
Right.
And someone else could take an interest, when people can believe in you. I've been told by so many people, major label never look at you until you have 1 million streams. And it's like, cool, that is the carrot. That is the thing we are all chasing. And you're one of the first people that I've gotten to know personally say, got there, didn't help.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's not that it doesn't open up career opportunities, but when you quantify what's going to make you happy, and you get there and you have to actually assess what it did for you, those are painful moments.
Yes.
Painful in finding out how hard you worked for this thing that what it gave you, 5% more joy, 10%, 1%, maybe it didn't even register.
It was literally that 5 minutes.
A couple high fives when we're done kind of deal.
I was like, cool. And
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, now what? There's another carrot.
Yeah. And you chase that dragon too. That every other thing needs to reach this same goal.
Right.
In songwriting, like, as you've changed your reason for doing it, is songwriting still a big part of your purpose in the world?
Yeah, I think it's definitely shifted because, man, I think back on the mental space that I was in when writing these songs. It was literally like, especially that specific song that you were talking about that has, hit, 1 million or all that jazz. I thought about not releasing that song because of the process. It was grueling. Initially, majority of the song was written in a practice room with a bunch of friends. The practice room was open, and then we all just started piling on, and they were just jamming, and I just started writing whatever was coming out, and then that was really fun. But then when we shifted to the production world of it, it became this like, my identity equals the quality of the song. And I mean, retrospective, like, it's really cool because we were able to refine it, but man, I never want to drop that bass. I never want to repeat that again because afterwards I was burnt out.
There is a great thing about that level of production, though, where it's like you're beating your head against the wall over the way that this word's articulated, the way that this filter works, the way that EQ works. Like, that's the chores that come along with maintaining a household of music, and it is not romantic.
It
And
isn't.
you
It's
learn,
not sexy anymore.
Yeah, but you get callous to what it takes to do that. And one of the great things about collaborating, and I had my buddy Toby on a couple weeks ago. Toby's one of my favorite producers I reach out to. He teaches over at CCM. He's a great dude. And I told him, I was like, when I think I have 5% left and I send something to you, you expose that I had 25% to go.
Whoa.
And you do it like this, because fresh ears
Right.
are the most valuable thing that you can get in the production process. When someone has their first listen at a stage where you need direction, they are the one thing that can save your ass from going deeper down the rabbit hole and just imploding this whole thing. Kind of like you were talking about feeling unfulfilled in partying. It's like you get to a point where you're unfulfilled in the music because you built up this subjective house of cards. And you get to it and you're just sitting there thinking about flicking this thing down, saying, fuck it, I'm done.
Literally.
And I think that's why batch production also helps, because you can be starting one and ending another and cutting vocals for these three, but none of them need to collide at a certain point, because that can be insufferable.
It can be. And, something else that I learned during the songwriting process is everyone works differently. I do not want to be an artist that does everything by themselves, because that's just my personality. And I feel like, Matt, you are somebody who is more than capable, and you do work that way, where you can do something from A to Z, like, to perfection, and then you bring in people to get their feedback, and then you, like, perfect it, right?
Well, I'm trying to get better about delegating in clear senses. Like, I just got married back in September. There's something so amazing about having a partner that feels now forever intertwined with your life.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. there's things that she can do in my life that I was never meant to be great at. And it's not like us splitting up chores. It's just like, am I the one that fixes my self-doubts? No, sometimes I ask my partner. Am I the one that mixes and masters this song? No, sometimes I send it there. Now, I think there's something great about anytime there's a task in front of you, try it. So if you do delegate to someone successfully, you can appreciate what they do.
Yes.
Because if you just ask someone to come paint your house and you've never gotten up there on a ladder, you won't appreciate how fucking great they are at that thing.
Which is where I was. I did not know the amount of dedication and time that it took because I was the one that was delegating without having done it at all. And the last 2.5 years has been me getting to see like the other side of things, like really getting into the production side, really getting into even like engineering live sets and things like that, doing lighting, all those things where I was like, oh my gosh, like these cats who do this, my respect for them, let's say it was here, now it's like out the roof, like yeah.
Well, and I think there's something so incredible too when you put the religious perspective in this, and you work every day to see God's magnitude and intention and beauty in these people. It's like your reverence for people and what they bring to the table is so different when you have that plane. And people that are lacking in it, it's tough because you see someone's an asshole that you had disagreement with. And today when they walk in, they might be the best thing that's ever happened to you. And if you're not willing to change that and give them a second chance, almost irrationally sometime, then you miss out. Right. It's like, why do some great bandmates hate each other? It's like because they have this deeper connection that is sickening at times. But we need each other. And we don't understand people's role in our life to we're willing to let them have that role in our life.
Like that space to say those things that only this person can say. That's like probably like a bit hurtful because of the truth that it reveals, right?
Yeah. Now, one thing that I had a very messy musical divorce, I would call it. I signed up to be 50-50 partners with a guy that was helping kind of develop me as an artist. He was producing stuff. We spent all this time together. And there was this huge collision point of, it's not done. I need it to be done. We need to move on. Like a tour planned, merch printed, not going to finish it. Meetings in place, not going to finish it. And there's this big argument. And we say, what's it going to take? And a big number was put on me. It's like, we've been sweat equity partners. We both invest in this evenly.
Right.
And then holds this big number over my head and says, you're not taking any of this material with you anywhere unless you pay me this. Oh my God. And it ended in a lawsuit. And it was this huge learning experience where when you let people in, you have to be guarded to that to some extent. And it was really hurtful because even today, as much as I knew I needed to go about the process that way, I wish I could have ended on good terms with that person because I still see greatness in what they did. And I only hope the best for them in that next chapter. But when you go through those things, it takes a recalibration of what's important, how do I steer this, and what do I need?
Right.
One of the moments recently in my life where I felt like God was screaming at me was in Bruce Springsteen's book.
Whoa.
I'm not a huge fan of The Boss, but I know the material well enough to say, like, all right, I'll listen to the audiobook. He talks about leaving his first band, where it's a democracy, and turning into Bruce Springsteen, and Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Band, saying, I need to be the undoubted leader of my own path in this. And I needed that clarity at that point in time. I have an incredible band of guys that I expect to all do best by themselves.
Right.
Because to do best by them, I must first take care of myself. I heard there's nothing like getting the Instagram like motivational reels.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And there was this guy saying, it used to be if I take care of you, you'll take care of me. And then I realized it should be, I'll take care of myself so that you can take care of yourself and we can be there for each other. But if you don't care to put yourself at 100, then you don't have 100 to give.
Right.
If you're stepping up to the table trying to give them 20 and you're keeping 80 and you find out now that you're at 60, you're at 40, you eventually find the path to be unsustainable towards caring for people.
Definitely.
So stepping into this next path for you, moving to Dallas, finding more of the musical vocation through God, what's it been like to redefine yourself in that picture and then take claim of it when it is so fresh?
Oh, thanks for asking this question. Yeah, I mean, like, I really, musical divorce, that's such a real thing. And for me, like, I was in a relationship too. On top of it, never mixed, was it pleasure and business together? And essentially I was business partners with my ex-boyfriend. And like, he's an amazing person. Still think he's amazing and lovely. I just think when we went our separate ways, that I was like, man, we should have had a contract in place in the beginning. We hear it all the time, but we're like, oh, we're pals, we're starting it, blah, blah, blah. It's fine. Have everything in writing at all times. Get the not sexy thing out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be redlined by a lawyer to say we're comfortable with it. It's like just a signed agreement in place to say, are we 50-50 partners?
Yeah.
Or like in my setting right now, like, I'm going to pay you up front for this because I know there's going to be value down the road, but I'm okay with making the sacrifice now. There's a lot of different ways to manage your musical pursuit, but transparency is the only thing that value.
Ooh. Yes, transparency and communicating that. That's what I've learned. Like right now, I'm Baroque, Matt. Like I've never been so Baroque in my life. And I'm not talking about the era. And
you kept saying it like that. And I'm like,
yeah, like cue like Baroque.
I picture a quill plucking a string, you know?
Oh, yes, that's exactly what the visual said. Like, so my dear friend of mine, was a talented guitarist, but I was like upfront, I was like, hey, would love to do this with you, but like, would you want to do more of like a percentage thing? And like, until you're recouped like X amount by this percentage, you like, until you're recouped X amount, I'll give you this amount of percentage. And then we're just like making our own deal and just having it in writing because it's transparency. So going back to where I am now with my journey, that's a big question because songwriting still is a big part of me. And I think that, but songwriting has shifted. The focus shifted from I need to tell people that like, essentially I was writing from a place of like, look at me, see me, to now knowing that I am seen and I'm loved. And now these songs are more of like, okay, what are the stories that I have been able to be a part of or being able to see or absorb that's coming out. And like even the writing process has been so different for me. Before it was more of like, okay, this melody's catchy. And like I used to do like K-pop, C-pop writing. So it was like, okay, like thinking of that formula. But now it's been more of like, this might sound crazy, but I'm like, okay, Lord, let's write this. So it feels like a writing process that I am having with like the Holy Spirit. And then I don't know, like there's a song that I wrote called In This Life, and I don't remember the writing process at all. It almost feels like I kind of blacked out. And then looking back on it, like some of the lyrics, I would be reading the Bible and I'm like, whoa, shut the front door. And then there's like a connection with the lyric and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even know that was there. I know this sounds kind of crazy. Like I was like, holy smokes, like, do I really believe in this thing called the Holy Spirit that comes from believing in Jesus? And so then my whole process and approach to art has shifted from like me being like, I need to do. Now it's like become this like fun process of like surrendering. By fun, I mean like just coming and being like, hey, I don't know what to write about, but here we are. Let's do this thing.
Yeah.
And just showing up. I don't know if that answers your question.
I think it's an honest answer of how you move forward. Like, when people do make a big pivot like that, when you uproot your life and say, I've redefined my values, it's hard to reclaim that as your person, because before you were saying I was this and now you're saying I'm that. And there's a moment of kind of like wobbling between these two that's difficult like for a lot of people.
Chicken.
I don't know why they're wobbling, but I get it.
Baby llamas.
Bango.
That's the one, bango.
Shave it, make me a coat, he'll grow it back, it's gonna be fine.
Alpacas.
Goddamn. But it's interesting to hear you say that because I feel like a lot of times, you know, the artistic world calls it the muse. Religious folks call it the Holy Spirit. You're welcome to call it whatever you want, but the idea of surrendering to whatever is kind of coming in that door, I think is one of the most important aspects of being an artist. And when you call it something, it relieves your ego of the need of being a creator. I am created to listen to whatever that thing is. And the muse and God and whatever that songwriting energy source is a very crafty motherfucker that will surprise you all the time. Like, it's almost like there's deja vu in songs. Sometimes you write a stanza, 2 lines, you're like, I don't even know what that means. Moving on.
Right.
And 6 months from then, you look at that lyric and you realize it was the words you needed to know,
right.
not they needed to know.
Right.
And it's just crazy to feel like there is foresight behind a life that's lived, you know, actively and presently. Like, I remember being a kid and being like, okay, God's omniscient. He knows what you're going to do, but he's not choosing that for you. And it's like, that's an impossible thing to comprehend. But there is this zoomed out perspective where time is just a dimension, and it's measurable, and it's a medium. And like, we've all had deja vu. And I had one the other day where I was like, I woke up, I was talking to my wife, and I said, I finally came to terms with this deja vu moment I had years ago, and it was you. And it was always you, and I never knew why you'd be in my life and why I was so comfortable in that moment. But there was this moment of alignment where it's like, cool, not only are we on track, but this has been written and ready for me, and I'm free to navigate as I will, but someone out there knows.
That was so romantic.
But it's all of life. It's not just her. I mean, she is my queen. I tell her all the time that I was not looking for her.
How did you guys meet?
I didn't even want to be in a relationship. I wanted to be single so bad, because similarly, like, I'm a serial monogamist. I've always had somebody
Literally.
there.
Ugh, that's annoying. Yeah.
And I wasn't taking the time to develop myself and be free of that thing. So I was like, I just need to slut around a little bit,
yeah.
you know, just try to. I also, I'm not the kind of person that can leave someone on red or break a heart. So I was like, I just need to not be with someone for a while now. And there's a Dawes song that I keep quoting. I tell everybody this, so I'm sorry to the 4 people that have heard me say this for the 5th time. But there's this Dawes song called "Love Is All I Am," and
wow.
the lyric that fucks me up is "Love is not convenient." And I, when me and my wife were really listening to this line, I'm like, you were just not convenient when you came into my life. It was like, I thought I knew exactly what I wanted. I thought I had this.
Right.
And I was looking at this, and it was like, okay, if I don't do this and I keep going with my plan as is, I will regret it for the rest of my life. 100%. And I knew it, and I didn't want to admit it. And I surrendered to the blessing that I was being bestowed with, which was a partner that could understand me better than anyone had ever understood me. And in that mutual assurance, as much as I need her, she needs me, and we are better together. But there's this moment of like violent change that has to happen.
Yeah.
And
whoa, you said that so well. Violent change.
Yeah. Sometimes it kicks hard, and life is incredible like that, because for some reason, you know, for some reason, intuition is real, and you don't need God to feel that. But it's easier when you're willing to carve out space for that relationship, and when those moments come knocking, you're like, I've been ready to listen to you for a long time, man. Here we go.
Whoa.
And I think it's also important to say, like, we are not a very religious couple. We're both Catholic. You know, we both grew up around that. And we went through the counseling leading up to a marriage that they require you to have.
Oh, they require you to have marriage counseling?
It's hilarious. I mean, there's so much shit where I'm like...
Young joke's on you.
Yeah, there was like a bunch of Zoom classes.
Yeah.
Where like sometimes my wife can't stand the way that I like talking to people and getting shit so wrong. And it was like... I shouldn't even go into this, but fuck it, here we are.
Here we are. Let's go.
It's like pregnancy planning.
Yeah.
And they're
the Catholic pregnancy.
And they're trying to outline like taking your temperature every day to know. And I'm barely listening to the conversation. So they ask this question, and we have the Zoom call on mute, and I mute it. I'm like 98.7 degrees, without listening to anything. And they go, the correct answer was day 12 of the month. But we're moving on. And she's staring at me, and I'm like, honey, you married a guy that just wants to be on The Price is Right so bad. I don't care. I'm trying my best. I may not be adequately involved, but I'm involved. I'm a participant. Okay, I'm getting a badge for something. I'm in the Boy Scouts. We're doing this. I don't even know where I was going. Oh, okay. But going back to the general counseling leading up to that, it's like sometimes leaning on each other fully, two people, that shows a seam between you and I that has a breaking point the more you put on it. You know, every relationship does. When you intervene with a third person that is the definition of perfection and parental guidance and love and in this omnipotent kind of view, that can bear more weight than the seam can sometimes. And if you're not ready to lean on that, then a lot of people reach that breaking point. And it's like, I did not sign up for you to ever be called my first wife. Like, you're my one and only. Right. Let's do this right. And thank God we had this moment in time to say, like, okay, we know we need that. We're going to figure out what that means for us. You know, I am not here to take your book and rewrite it on my own wall. I will take a highlighter out and I will lean on this as I need to. And a lot of Catholics don't like that, okay? They're like, take the book, read it thoroughly. And I'm like, I'm having my fun. I love you. Thanks a lot. It's like, exactly. I am also subscribing to some bumper stickers that you may not want to read, but Mouth Queef available on my Etsy. Come on, get it.
Shout out.
Don't forget about the promo code BOGO.
Once again, that is etsy.com/
Waters Music. I should get an Etsy just for like nonsensical ideas.
Please do.
Do you have like, do you do like your own merch and all that?
No, see, that's where, man, I've been gifted with so many, like literally blessed with so many friends that are so talented and just flipping amazing. Like my bestie Kelsey, she made a sticker for me, and like for my birthday she just made, like printed out 100 and was like, Serin, can you have this as your merch? Just kind of like, because I was just like, hey, we're just goofing around and design some stuff, and I don't know why I haven't made that jump yet.
It's a tough thing. I mean, order fulfillment is a pain in the ass, but it's also a love language between you and your listeners to say, hey, streams don't pay that well. Live shows sometimes don't pay that well. This can be a losing venture at times, but I put my faith in the people that support me, that we're going to have enough at the end of the day for me to keep doing this.
Right.
Like, one thing I've always told myself is a lot of people have their favorite bands break up, and I may not be your favorite band yet, but I'm not going anywhere. This is a vocation from now till you put me in a grave, and I still got some ditties to come out then.
Yeah,
and
come on.
Like, I'm gonna have them in a Google Drive ready for you. Like, we're gonna do this. But you know, I feel that assertion in my life, and I feel that's because I got a good foundation. I've always been supported by my family and my wife, and I feel like by God in my life that this is what I'm gonna do. No questions asked. Let's proceed as needed. And merch, as much as it feels like, oh, I gotta sell shit, you know, it's just like it kind of eats at you in that it's a way of saying, hey, I'm gonna give you something with my name on it, but know that from the time this goes from my hand to your hand, and you're giving me the monetary boost to keep going, that this is just a reminder that I have something I want to give you, and if you value it, help me out by proceeding with this.
Sure, right.
And it can be a very intimate thing, but there's so many directions of that. Like, who prints the T-shirts? Where do you host that stuff? How do you go about this?
And this is where, like, I love directors, artists, designers who they clearly respect the audience. Wes Anderson, for example, people have opinions about him. The reason I absolutely adore him is I feel like he respects the audience. Like, I know when I watch his film, I'm going to get an artistic epiphany or just an awe of the craft of filmmaking, because he's respected the audience enough to put in the time and effort to create something unique. So I think another thing about merch for me is I want to make sure that that time was put in. And maybe this is an excuse, but I think because my focus in the last 2.5 years, I almost want to say my love has been redirected to God right now. It's just that phase in my life. And I hope that there will be a day where I think it's been, you know, when you like make buildings, I'm not an architect, so I'll probably butcher this, but usually they have to make out the blueprint of it all and then start with the foundation and then build the insides and then make all the pretty things on the outsides and make sure everything's sturdy, right? But it all starts back from the inside. And I feel like the last 2.5, almost 3 years now, has been the inside that's being rebuilt. And I feel like Dallas is like my first step into now the outside layers being added on. Oh my gosh, I might listen to this podcast like 4 years from now and be like, silly Serin, we were just working on the flooring.
That's why I don't go too far back in the listen. You know, I hear listen within a week, but I'm like, I don't want to hear what that asshole has to say. That dude whack.
From 3 years ago, man. Yeah.
You know, I respect having reservation for when it starts and saying like, I don't have time for that right now. But I think there's also value in just saying like, oh, it doesn't need to be perfect.
Right.
It starts today.
Need to hear that, yeah.
Because there's a lot of websites where you can do like the print fulfillment thing, where you can just drop the graphic, and there might be someone on the other side of the globe, and like you have a lot of international listeners that say like, I want to be able to represent an artist that's meant something to me. Shout out Russia, gang.
For real, I love them.
Gang.
Russians and Brazilians, they're my love. I love them, yeah.
And it's weird the way that music has this passive impact in places you never expected. Like, I always describe songs as like, you've created a room, and the arrangement and the building of that is like furnishing the room. Sometimes there's piss stains on the couch, and you love that about it. You know, like you're just one of those people. You're like, Cheetos from 2019? Finally. And sometimes it's a dinner party where everything is so tight and precise and beautiful. But at all points in time, we as songwriters and listeners are saying, come into my room, let's hang out for a little bit. I have space for you here for whenever you need it. When you need to be alone and you just need a beanbag chair and a bunch of glow lights, that's fucking right here, dog, I swear. There's comfort foods in our life in terms of music.
Right.
That's like stepping into a bedroom that you grew up in. And it's so comfortable. And I feel like that's one of the greatest callings in being a songwriter, is making spaces for people to look at themselves. You know, sometimes it's a full-length mirror where we can expose things that we need to talk about, and sometimes it's a room in absolute darkness, and we need the yin and the yang of that to feel like the music has actually become a soundtrack that's livable. You know, and it doesn't need to be just you. Like, that's the great thing about streaming, is the way that people's playlist is this really honest introspection to, sometimes I wake up in the morning with Megadeth, and that's the Beach Boys because I'm drinking my OJ.
That's right.
And then it's some kind of music that OJ would listen to in a high-speed pursuit. You know what I'm saying? What was on in his car? You know he wasn't driving to nothing. Let's be real, okay? I want to know.
Still too soon.
No. It'll never be too soon to try on another set of gloves and see if those. Yes. We call that a bang, idiot.
Bang, bang, bang.
That was too far.
That was too far.
No
There's a skull
guns.
over here too, so oh yeah, you can see this.
I'm trying to remember the name of that skull. I used to take it everywhere and put it on top of my amps because I thought it was so much fun. And then I broke the head off of it.
That's why they're
So
green.
I filled it with, it's very taped up. And then I filled it with red foam so it kind of looks like brains. And now he just sits there and looks at my guest.
And he just hangs. What's up, brother?
What's up, dude?
What's up, brother? Oh shoot, you said something and I really wanted to talk about it.
Was it OJ?
It was pre-OJ.
Pre-OJ. There was no world pre-OJ.
Yeah,
For me, it goes BCOJAD.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It was this timeless block of football career and trials.
No way.
And Mr. Kardashian.
Oh gosh. Okay. Room. Yes, the room. So for me, I would say like, man, this is like the love and the grace, because I didn't realize what room I was even living in. So like, because I briefly mentioned this, trigger warning, but like there was a lot of trauma that I just didn't process, and a common reaction that you have to trauma is just disassociation with yourself, and I didn't realize I had that until like during my time I went to therapy and all of that, CBT. Shout out to Ming. I love you, Ming. Gang. And then I'm currently reading this book called The Body Keeps Count, and it's talking about how your body reacts to things that even essentially your brain was like, I can't keep this in my brain, but your body remembers it. And like, I didn't, so the last 2.5, I just gonna keep on referring to that time frame because I can't emphasize enough how much has been happening internally. But like, it's me reconnecting with like, what does this room look like? What does it feel like? Like, is this metal? Is this caught in, because my brain had a hard time recognizing what was what, and the intuition, the gut that you were talking about, like of knowing that moment with your wife of, okay, this is going to cost a lot and I'm going to sacrifice a lot, and I know this is the greater love that I need to join in on. And you had that intuition, that gut feeling. For me, a lot of me ignoring the gut feeling for such a long time has created a division that stopped me from listening to myself. So the merch thing, I'm so excited to do that when it happens. Like, I've been wanting to work on an EP for such a long time. I have songs that are ready, but the reason it hasn't been released yet was because the last 2.5 years, I'm gonna keep on saying this, is I needed this time. I didn't even know I needed this time, but I needed this time to reconnect with who I am and with the Creator, and relearning who God is. He's not this like guy that's tapping his foot, like waiting for me to mess up and be like, how did you not do this perfectly or whatever? But I'm learning, oh my gosh, like the gospel isn't that I'm a sinner. The first step of the gospel is that there's a Creator who wanted relationships with his creations, and therefore created humans, and then we decided we know better, and therefore creating a division. And because he's a holy, perfect God, and we created that division, the bridge was broken. And that's why all of Old Testament is literally God pursuing relationship with his people, and us being like, doubt it, doubt it, and be
Look
like,
at this golden calf I made.
you're like, I don't know, like this golden calf slay. And then just being like, okay, again and again, and they'll get in this trouble and be like, okay, God, actually, ring ring, can you help? It's just like the whole story, and him just constantly pursuing us, and then finally giving us this gift of Jesus, what he loves the most, for us to be that bridge, and then making tomfoolery of the thing that we're afraid of the most, which is death, so that we can truly live in freedom and in relationship and in love. But like you said, love costs, and what it costs is our secular mindset of what freedom is, which is doing whatever I want. And that moment for me of realizing, whoa, I have been doing whatever I want, but I've been feeling more bondage than ever. The bondage being these titles or this lifestyle that I have to subscribe to, that I have to keep up. And realizing, oh my gosh, this is actually kind of like I'm in a rat race, you know? And then realizing, whoa, there's actually a God that created me scientifically. The fact that Matt Waters came out as Matt Waters is literally 1 in a trillion. You can't tell me that's coincidence. And like the life journey that you've had is so unique. The good, bad, ugly, all of that has made you who you're supposed to be and who you are becoming. And therefore crafting and writing these songs that will resonate with people that are going through that specific moment in their life, or that wanting a beanbag chair or wanting that like black room. It's when you are so in tune with your own story and your identity and having the freedom of truth to stare at it straight in the face. It's only when you're actually walking in that you can contribute to this world as Matt Waters. Only Matt Waters can uniquely contribute as, you know. And for me, it was this journey of being like, okay, I don't even know who Serin is, because Serin was just I love talking about myself in third person, but like she was just but like Serin was just like listening to all these things that I thought I had to be, and those are all identities and titles or achievements that were holding me down from actually looking at who like I am. Like it's painful to look at who you are, like what you were saying about your wife, you know, like or what your bandmates, right? Like saying these, you said this about bandmates, of being like really close bandmates who can say things to you that only the beloved bandmates can, but it's because there's relational repertoire that was built, that trust. And so with God, he's given me this opportunity to be like, oh, I didn't realize that my idea of who you are was so crooked, and like my idea of who I am is so crooked because I was like creating the space for all these lies to flood into my mind, rather than having the courage to look at myself with truth that only comes from a relationship of love with the Creator, which is like where my life has been for the last 2.5 years.
It's a good stamp to put on it. And I got to pause for a second. You hit preacher level guidance right there.
Sorry, I just kind of popped off. My bad.
I really enjoyed it. That's what we're here to do. But I had an intrusive thought earlier that for some reason I felt like I couldn't let go of.
Yeah.
Santa's probably on the naughty list for hijacking Jesus' birthday for his own holiday. That shit is selfish.
It wasn't him, though. It wasn't him. It was the culture that did that.
It was Coca-Cola.
It was
I watched those TikToks. I know what's going on.
I get it. Like, it's Coca-Cola. Yeah.
One thing you touched on there about bandmates, I think this was kind of like, it was like the underlining of what we were saying before. But it's true. Like, people you love are capable of saying things that hurt you while knowing that it's good for you. Mm. And if you have God in your life, you can see him in all your hardships and saying that you are capable of making it through this, whether it's the worst days of your life or the ultimate challenges that are coming down the path. Like, having that reassurance that you are meant to go through this because it will fortify your relationship and what you're called here to do is a really important framing and perspective to have, or else life can just be suffering. It's like, you know, for non-Christians out there that haven't read a lot of these books, like the book of Job is one of these really brutal depictions.
Gosh, it's so depressing.
It's so fucking depressing. It's like, can we stop talking about his sores for a little bit? And it's like, no, he tried to put on his socks, and guess what there were? And it's like, that's just gross. But like, having that shape to life, the contour of saying like, there's going to be bumps here. It's not a linear, easy path.
Right.
Helps you to see the beauty in hardship and in bad relationships and things like that. And like you kind of said, like, what was the name of the book about the body remembers?
But the body keeps count. It's written by this medical guy.
when you said that, I also had an intrusive thought of thinking like it's some like player's guide to helping guys increase their body count. And I was like, never mind, gotta move on. God. That's immediately what I went to, and I was like, God, that is gonna be available on my Etsy so quick.
Once again, that's etsy.com//
mouth queefs for days. DAZE. I mean, like, because it's a bumper sticker. You're huffing exhaust.
So you see it, right?
You gotta feel a little high. You gotta feel a little bit. That's so terrible. But there is this weird thing about like muscle memory isn't a real thing, but there are dispositions in the body that are your trauma. Like when I got into yoga, I started to realize like all the ways that stress and difficulties do like fabricate themselves into your being, and it is these weird piece of tension. Like the great thing about yoga and in the earliest parts of your practice is you're not trying to clear the mind and make it blank. You're trying to clear the line and let the stream of consciousness run. It's about not gripping at things. And stretching is the same kind of feeling. Like, I'm not trying to get you to touch your toes. I'm trying to get you to get to the furthest point of your reach and relax there. Because as you start to let go of the achievable goal of maybe one day reaching your toes, you start to let go of the need for some kind of end in sight.
Right.
And you just slowly start to bend a little bit more. And it's not through strain. It's through your own comfort with not being there. There's this line between ambition and content that if you're not walking that, you will be unhappy. And if you can't find that center line that you feel fulfilled at, between the two of them, then you are either always chasing something or you're not pushing yourself. And that's no way to live a life.
Wow, that was wisdom right there. That was bars right there.
That ain't my book, but I'm reading it. I'm definitely in. There's a lineage of books that I've only read one of them, so I'm a fucking hoax. That's why I say amateur yogi.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
let's go yogi though.
But I'm trying.
Yeah.
It's called the Yamas and the Niyamas, and I always tell people it's very similar to the Beatitudes. It's a very short, poignant rules to live by, and the first two rules fucked me up. The first one's don't be violent, and it's a pretty simple rule to understand, but you go into it. You think of all the ways that violence manifests in your life and how you might be violent toward yourself, towards other people, towards life around you that sustains. And the second one is be honest. And before you hit number 3, they say these two will contradict. Sometimes to be honest, you must be violent. Sometimes to avoid violence, you can't be honest.
Whoa.
And that was tough for me to take in.
Wow.
Because I started to realize all the places in my life where I was not being honest with myself because I was trying to avoid the violence towards myself, and that had to be rectified. Then all the places that I wasn't going to be honest with others because it felt violent. And it's like,
is there like a specific example, if you mind sharing with?
Well, I think it's like, does your friend need to hear some bad news? Has your friend been behaving in a way that's going to hurt them if you tell them? If you love them enough, you will pull the Band-Aid off and you'll say, this is what I'm seeing from my end, and I'm not trying to hurt you, but to be honest, I know this is going to hurt. Right. There's so many times in my life where, going in and out of relationships our whole lives, like I was not a quick Band-Aid pulling type of person. I would slowly back up out of relationships. And that's not the way to do somebody, because it's not honest. But it's not violent enough to get out of there. And it's like, to be honest, sometimes you got to be painful about it. And sometimes to not be painful about it, you can't be honest. So there's always this parameter to live between. And
tension.
It's like, yeah. And it's like ambition and content. It's like, there's no black and white in a life well lived. There is a spectrum of literally everything. And the only solace to that is defining both ends of it and starting to navigate between them, rather than acting like there's one answer to everything.
Right. There never is.
Yeah.
There never is.
I mean, if we want to go religious with it, it's like someone had to be crucified for us to figure out what the truth was here. Like, you look at Christians don't like the saints thing, but that's how we ball, okay? Catholics, we got spin-off series for days.
Mad respect, bruh.
I think that is like the funniest difference between like Christian faith is like we have sub-series on sub-series. Like we're our own streaming platform over here, and it's because you need like these tales of what people go through to be honest with themselves, but what they need to have that relationship.
Yeah.
And none of these people are perfect. And sometimes having many a character to relate to can help put you in perspective. I don't need to be one thing. I'm always changing, but I know what I'm aiming for, and I know what I'm aiming not to be. I've defined both ends. Yeah. Now I can start to navigate as clearly as possible.
I feel like the common thing that you keep on bringing up, which is so cool, is the gray area. The tension, or like that it's not black and white. Even when, I don't know, I keep on going back to the wifey sauce because I feel like that's a very big life change that you've gone through recently. I still call it recently because it's still within a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like your...
And I fought with that experience. I fought with my wife, up until like year 5 of dating, just be like, I don't think I want to get married. I know you want this thing and I'm just not ready for that. And it wasn't until, one of the things I've always told my wife that I never knew I wanted in a partner was someone that had some fucking backbone, that could tell me what's up, that could be honest with me even if it hurt. She's like, this isn't going to last if we can't make this kind of step. And I knew I wanted to make it eventually, but I didn't want to make it now.
Right.
And she said, here's the options. I got to be real with you, or else I got to move on with my life.
Wow.
And then I knew I'd regret it. There was something in my gut that said, this is my chance to move forward in life. And I'm not convinced that there's a soulmate for everybody, but there is a time of reckoning in your life of saying, do you keep living for fickle dopamine, for short-sighted joy, or do you start investing as soon as possible in the thing that you know is going to bring you the most long-term results? And relationships are way easier on you than the stock market, okay? There are down days in it, and there are days you think about trading out. Don't be soft. Commit.
Commit, brother.
Commit.
Well, it takes courage to commit, Matt. Like, I read a statistics that said this is the first time in U.S. human history that majority of the adults are single. As in, it's like 68% or something are single.
That doesn't help our chances.
Yeah, well, and like out of those people that get married, 50% decide to trade out. And it takes courage to stick it out. Even more than stick it out, like live in abundance and keep on deciding to show up every day. What you said earlier about like the person that I was yesterday, like isn't the person that I am today. It's all the accumulation of who you are. And same with the relationship. You're like creating this third person together, whether it's a literal baby or like this relationship, right? Like, and you're cultivating it, and it's going to change every single day, and it's deciding to show up every single day. That takes balls. Like,
well, and like I'm not even a year into it. But boy, if I put my wife through it in the first year. I mean, like I am by no means doing above all to take care of my partner, but I'm learning every day.
You're supposed to learn. That's what it is. Yeah.
And if you can look around at your life and say, these are the people I want to be like I think I've always heard, like, you're the cumulative of your 5 closest friends.
Oh yeah.
I don't change friends out very much. Like,
you're loyal, eh?
I stick with the people because I think it's part of a comfort. But I was just like, I'd like to see how this plays out. You know, I do believe in you. I'd like to see it get better for you. But I've been around family that have really gone the distance with their partners. My parents, you know, and I'm so fortunate to say that my parents have always been together in my life, and they've always both been there for me. And they have their ups and downs like any good couple does. But to have that example in your life, or to choose to pick a new example in your life that you want to follow, that's the way to go. Like, this is a weird moment. I told you I read Bruce Springsteen's book. I listened to it. I can barely read. You know?
So you consumed. It's in your. The knowledge is in your brain.
I ear consumed it. Okay, I chewed it with my my drums.
Your eardrum.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay, this is getting gross. We got to move away from the ASMR. But for so long before that, and for no reason at all, people said, "What do you want your career to be like? Like, what do you want?" People always ask you that lofty question, like, "What do you want to be if you blow up?" You know.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, I want to retire like Bruce fucking Springsteen. As in, I don't want to retire. I'm gonna keep going out there playing. I want to have a body of music that fits into people's lives. I don't care if I get hits. I just want to have music that fits into people's lives.
Yeah.
And one day, if it means something and you need to retire, you can sell your publishing and move on. But you need to have those rights. So I'd always kind of pinpointed this example without really listening to his music, not many interviews, not knowing why. It was just this intuition of, no, that's the guy.
So you've been saying that.
I've been saying that for years. I never really cared to look more at it. It was just like, it was just an easy answer for me.
Okay.
So the coming to terms with the fact that this intuition had been planted in my life because I needed to listen to that book. I needed it. And it kicked so hard in so many places.
Oh.
And there's moments where it's like, I'm overwhelmed by the deja vu and the foresight and the timeless placement of what and why and where are we going that certain things come at, you know, whether that's you walking into the church that day or the song kicking you in the dome or the listener coming up and saying, that was the performance I needed today. This is a hilarious situation. And if Matt Waters, if you're listening to this, I apologize. I love you, brother. I got this guy that comes to some shows up in like the Northern Ohio area. Great dude. The first time I met him, it was his birthday. I was playing there on like a random weekend. And he comes up to me and he has, you know, he's not crying, but he's welled up, you can see. And he says, I think you're a message from my deceased wife. And I said, heavy. What's going on there? And he goes, my name's also Matt Waters. I love live music. It's my birthday and I just needed something today. And you don't know why you're placed in certain situations. It's hard to react to certain things the right way. But it was a big hug. And now I see this guy a couple times a year. And we're friends. And he buys my merch just to wear it to the bank because he thinks that shit's funny. Because they're like, is this guy wearing a shirt of his own shit? And it's like, okay, Matt, that's a fucking geek.
That's amazing.
But wow. But you don't know why you're in certain people's lives. Right. You can never imagine. You don't deserve to be the guide of what, why, and where.
Right.
But sometimes the impact is just in front of you, and it's apparent, and you have an opportunity to make something of that. And in terms of why I do this, for all the awful days that I had, that was one of the best fucking hugs I've ever got. You know, and I got a lot of love for that guy. And it's really odd to have wearing feelings of why you do this, and then you keep core memories like that in a certain place so you can lean on them when you need it.
That is beautiful and powerful, man. And it's because you showed up to that random gig.
Yeah.
That weekend.
because I was fortunate enough to be booked that night, and I was fortunate enough to be utilized for a good thing by a power that's greater than my own.
Because you couldn't have concocted that, right?
I plant a lot. I'm always Googling Matt Waters, LinkedIn Matt Waters. I'm just trying to, it's an election year. There's a lot of people trying to manipulate.
You're like, I'm just trying to hop on that bandwagon a bit earlier. You don't want me.
I was about to make a terrible joke. I'll make it off the record because some things aren't meant for the internet.
Yeah.
But it's a goodie. I'll tell you.
Oh, frick, okay.
Fuck.
You want to hear it right now.
No.
It's like later.
No, okay. We've been on for an hour and 19 minutes. So we got a little bit of time to wrap this up.
Okay.
But you'll hear it soon enough.
Okay, great. Awesome.
So you're making this move.
Yeah.
You're going to be in like a musical vocation and religious set, right?
Yes. The reason I'm saying it was such a big question mark is like Matt, when I say, I was like, God, okay, if you want me to fully be in like a religious vocation, I'll do it. But I feel like this is a training ground for something else. Like my heart to want to perform and write with people, like not under the adjective Christian, right? But just like as a human, it's just deepening. So, but like, yes, that's, I'm going to Dallas to be a resident at a church in their worship ministry. There's like the classic contemporary worship, but it's a pretty massive church. Their main worship is choir, it's choral, orchestral, and organ. So that's what I'll be helping with, which is so sick.
Rad.
I know. I was like, what the heck? Yeah.
It's always cool when like, there's cross-training moments in life. You don't really know why you're doing it. You're just doing it. I don't care if you're climbing walls or you're painting houses or like, I didn't understand why people liked yards so much. Why homeowners are so into it. Yeah. It's a fetish, guaranteed. It's a fetish. Every time I'm out there, I'm like, this is the craziest blood flow I've ever known.
Crazy. Oh my God.
But it's another thing in life to be like, I maintain this thing because I love my home. I got this little space just to be myself. It's like, it's a useless venture. There's going to be weeds. It's going to keep growing. I don't give a fuck. I'm just here to tend to the garden and keep doing these things that are small disciplines, a reminder like life is short. I should have some fun with this. So sometimes I put crop circles in my yard just to freak the neighbors out.
So freaking, I know you do that.
I wear a morph suit. I go out there and I just get on my hands and knees with a pair of scissors.
Brother.
Yeah, dude. It's pretty sick.
Dude, this has been a massive year for you. New house, new like relationship status.
When we get off the record, I'll tell you the truth of the matter. It's been a crazy year.
It's crazy.
It's been
all caps.
It's been violent, okay? Violent introspection. It's changed everything. And
let's go. Rock
that's
and roll.
awesome. You know what?
Yeah.
I don't care if it was awful to get through. It's like if I live to get another chance for it, I'm here to ball out, like and not like a fickle sense. Like I want to be 97 and crazy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what's this idea of retirement? I don't know. Because all my mentors, okay, you're the accumulation of 5 people closest in your life, right? I am a firm believer in mentors, and like having people that you admire for like different aspects of your life. And my main, I would say like life mentor, he just retired last year. Like full head of white hair, rocking it, Bill. He's been more busy as a retired person than like when he was in his vocation.
If you really retire and stop doing shit, you start dying. That's a sad process, like that. People don't get that. I'm not one of those people. Like my mother, my whole life has been a stay-at-home mom. The last thing she does is stay at home. Okay?
Yeah, right.
That woman is out there kicking the door in. She is the maternal presence for more figures than I can understand, and I'm her son. I don't get it. She's
What's her name?
Mary Carroll.
Mary Carroll.
Goddamn saint. Okay, she is the shit. I love
MC.
Yeah, MC. She actually does go by MC in the streets.
In the streets. Let's go MC.
Today I was talking to her about tinning my windows, and she goes, "You could always go to Big Papa's over in Norwood." I was like, "Mom, quit talking about Big Papa's, okay?" Like,
Big Papa's.
It's just like a store where you can get sweet rims and get your windows tinted. And like my brothers used to go there to get their cars like souped up in high school, and I'm like, "Ma, like you're just not the suburban woman that needs to be talking about going to Big Papa's to get some fucking spinners put on."
Let's go MC.
So funny.
I love that so much.
I had some other nonsense I was going to tell. Okay, so Labradoodles. You ever seen a dog that has people eyes?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Okay,
Craziest
this is
thing.
going to be a long segue.
Okay.
So the AI is going to be able to simulate you as a person from conversations like this and phone calls, whatever it pulls from. And so the immortal version of yourself in the future technological sense is a simulation of yourself. It's not you, mind, body, and spirit, you know? And I think as Christians, we look for that in a very different way that does feel like I get to go with it. And I think the spirit has value. But in a technological sense, it's a simulation of you. Now, technology is going to change in our life. I am going to be a poodle. Okay, I'm going to have my brain taken out, and I'm going to be one of those people-ized dogs. Okay, they're going to make it in a lab from an alpaca coat.
You've seen The Lobster, haven't you?
The Lobster? Oh, God, no. What's that? That sounds horrifying.
It's a movie that literally turns people into animals. It's by Yargos. He's the guy who did Poor Things. Okay, side note, continue. Poodle. You're going to be a poodle.
Yeah,
Yes,
I know where to go with that. I mean, that was just some nonsense. I do believe that, like, you know, Christianity does include the reincarnation idea, but like on a physical sense, like worms are going to eat you, bigger worms are going to be born, big worms become big birds become... Actually, I just want to be reincarnated into Big Bird, not in a Sesame Street sense, spin-off.
Like a literal, like a green one, or like a, you mean like a literal physically grand bird that
I like
eats
that
worms?
You immediately went to like a Super Smash Brothers where it's like, let's change the color a couple times. Yeah.
That's me.
I want to be alternate universe Big Bird on a sitcom like Tool Time with Tim Allen, where like I come home to a wife and kids and like it's a sitcom about having a sitcom about doing home repair.
It has to be meta.
It's all kind of meta. My biggest hope for Facebook is that pokes get a little bit more visceral. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like a slap.
No. Violent, bad. Like someone pokes you on Facebook and you immediately feel like the recession of your navel, like a true belly button, like, hey, how you doing?
No. Dude, the craziest thing, it was like, oh my gosh, when was the last time the poke feature disappeared? But it was like pretty recent. By recent, I mean 2020 something. I got a poke from somebody. I need to look up when it was, but it was like, I was like, what is this? Are you flirting with me right now?
I remember poking a lot of people back in the day. I remember that being the go-to flirt mechanism.
That was the DM slide.
What a crazy thing.
Gosh.
We should make a dating site that only features the poke. Yeah. Where it's like, if someone pokes you and you accept, now they can see like your social media and they can slide into DMs of other places.
But if you deny the poke.
You poke someone and you open it up and it's only a Webkins and you're like, you said 42-year-old male and you're only on Webkins, and they're like, how I do is how I do. Get on
the direct pivot into the Webkins.
Get on my Etsy. I have a bumper sticker that says Webkins only.
Once again, that's FC. Okay. If there's one, this is for the future AI that takes sound bits of me and Matt.
Of you.
Yes.
It makes your personality.
I think one of the crazy things too about this journey is like I've been diving into the power of songwriting and art and how it unites people, and it's been tickling my brain of like utilizing songwriting to combat the loneliness epidemic. So that's been a big passion of mine and like a pivot of why do I write songs. And because for me, this process, I feel like I'm heard and I'm understood by the creator. That's like for me, right? And I feel like that flows through my other creation process of being like, oh, I want to hear understanding. And I feel like us as artists, that's what we just naturally do. So if there's like one like AI sound bit that I love for the AI gods to
an AI does edit this show.
Wait, actually?
Actually.
For real?
Yeah, it's so much quicker.
No way.
I used to pay a guy to do it. He was always late. I always couldn't afford it, you know?
Yeah.
So now an AI does edit it. So don't talk directly to it because it kind of freaks it out.
Like, sorry to expose you like that.
He's very shy.
He's a shy guy. His name is what? Millard?
Darrell.
Darrell, okay.
Couldn't be Daryl. That's a person's name. Darrell.
It's Darrell.
But please feed him soundbite. Nibble nibble. Eardrumless drum nibble.
I don't even know what I was going to say. I'm just stuck on, what is it, Darrell?
Darrell.
Darrell.
Wishes he could be Daryl, but we haven't made it that far yet.
It's just
But
Darrell.
one day we're going to print him and put him in a poodle. So we can frolic together.
It's a pink poodle.
It's a pink poodle.
Yeah.
And I'm Pink Big Bird. And he walks me. Kinks.
That's crazy.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Oh, God.
Wild, dude.
Yeah, I am always amazed that the AI doesn't pull shit like this. Like, it doesn't understand humor, and it definitely wouldn't understand why that's definitely not funny, but like pretty funny. You know? One of my favorite inserts, though, is just like, if someone says something crazy to me, kinks. Always gets them.
I don't know if I'm gonna adopt that into my vocabulary, but I love it.
Mouth queef definitely makes its way first. People try to fight it first, and then someone lets out a good one. You're like, guess what?
That was me with goose for such a long time, and then
I hate that you all goose me. Oh, it's so
goose
ridiculous.
night. Have a goose day. That sounds goose.
It's ridiculous.
Goose.
It's just like this commune of people that have inserted goose into everything.
It's amazing. And then honk yeah.
Honk yeah is much better, actually.
Honk yeah.
Honk yeah I'd be willing to include on my Etsy for a small payment. If you got all of them, it would say mouth queef, honk yeah, Webkins only.
Webkins only. With the pink poodle on it, obviously. Obviously. Well, we have so many merch that's coming out from this specific podcast.
Listen up, girlies and guilies. I'm going to tell you. Bring your cash. We ballin'.
Slam dunk.
Slam dunk. Bitcoin only.
Oh, Bitcoin, dude.
Oh, don't. Please don't bring this back to God with Bitcoin. The Lord wants us to be crypto rich.
No, dude. That's just next level.
I want to see a picture. I get you don't like the Saints thing. Well, maybe you do like the Saints.
Yeah, I'm making vibe with the Saints.
I'm making derogatory statements.
Yeah, what
about,
the heck, brother?
Catholics are very judgy. It's kind of our game.
It's our deal.
We might be the OGs at it, so leave me the fuck alone, okay? I'm balling. But I want to make a meme now of like, I think St. Peter works the gate. He's the security guy hanging out the front door.
Whoa,
and he's
what?
like, that'll be 3 Bitcoin.
He said, Apple Pay, we'll take it.
No. The last thing I want is to think that Steve is up there being like, so we're going to sell them on a cloud plan. It's going to be really nice. Okay?
This is why it was called iCloud in the first place.
It's $4.99 a month.
Dude,
no
it gets
biggie.
me. It gets every month. And I'm like, what is this?
At least it's reasonably affordable.
It is. But, I mean, if you do the accumulation of that. Okay. And you have really nice eyebrows, Matt.
Fleek, thank you.
Like a fleek.
I was just telling the wife about how one of my high school girlfriends used to pluck my eyebrows for me, and I used to think like this is insufferable, but if this is what she wants to do, I'll do it.
Let her
like,
be.
Yeah, exactly. If this is this her vibe, and I'm the youngest of 4 siblings,
right.
2 older brothers, then an older sister right above me. And
Great character building.
Most of my childhood was like playful bullying. They're lovely people. Every night at dinner was spent trying to get milk to come out my nose. like even if I wasn't drinking milk, I'd be like, Matt, here's a glass of milk. And I'd be like, I wonder what this is for. And they would just fuck with me.
Because you're the youngest. That's the must.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one night we're sitting there and my sister goes, hey, Matt, your arches look really nice. And I was like, you bitch. I never recovered. I'll never let someone touch my eyebrows again.
Ever again.
I part the C. I get rid of a little in the middle, but I got some crazy, like, it'll start here and it'll end up on the side.
No.
And I'll be like, who are you trying to be when you grow up? This is crazy. It's like I got pathos coming out from the top of my face.
Dude, not the pathos. So do you and your wife talk about, like, your exes and stuff? Like, did you guys spill the beans on,
Super
like, all
openly.
that?
Yeah.
Whoa.
She's the most, like, she's not like, she's a human being. She has some jealousy if like someone's being ridiculous, but she's open to all of my crazy stories of just like me being an awful boyfriend or like hilariously gone bad dates.
Was this like year 1 of relationship? When did like the beans spill out?
I think the whole relationship, like, we've been very transparent since I quit smoking. I've been more honest with like one of the things I did poorly as a partner was like I was a pretty regular pothead, you know, like I'd smoke most days. Yeah. And I would try to deny it to her. And it's like when someone kisses you and they're like, so when? And you're like,
I can smell
like
the
3 days ago. I swear.
I just haven't brushed my teeth.
I have super good hygiene. Okay. It's Bath and Body Works just gets me like that.
Bath and Body Works, man, at all the times. Yeah.
Like, quit cannabis killing me. Like, I'm trying my best right now. Like, cutesy. No, but after that, I was like, I don't want to hide anything from you. It's just a nonsensical twist on this thing. So, like, here comes some silly-nilly. And I'm a nuisance in that, like, I always have something dumb to tell my wife, and she's up for it. I'm like, you're saying, you're awesome.
Like, you want to hear this right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, whether it's like a cougar approaching me or me approaching a cougar and being like, you want to buy a t-shirt? You know what I mean?
Wait, have you had cougars approach you and be like, hey, Shotty?
I have awesome memories as a child. Like, I started gigging when I was 13. My parents would take me to all my gigs. Right. Like, I was too young to be in most of these bars. And I started playing in Hilton Head, South Carolina. That's where my family takes vacations every year.
Love it.
And they were like, why don't you just go ask the guy if you can play with him? And I started doing that to everybody. And I was just sitting there with all these guys, and they'd be like, why don't you come play my gig with me tonight? And it was an awesome experience. And one night we're playing this club called the Big Bamboo. And so it's me, a keyboard player, another guitar player. And, like, we're playing, like, Rowdy Skinner shit and, like, country classics. And this, like, 40-year-old cougar comes dancing up.
This is when you're, like, 14?
Yeah, 14-year-old Matt.
Okay.
And, like, I am all about it. I'm like, this shit's tight. Older ladies coming up, they digging it. And my mother comes up and taps her on the shoulder and says, that's my son. You keep dancing like that in front of him, I'll make sure you can't dance anymore.
Come on,
MC of the streets.
For real.
Ticket to Big Papa's. You're going to be spinning rims with the teeth by the time I'm done with your hands. They're going to be broken, girly. Quit with the finger guns. Especially, like, long... Like, that's crazy. You can pew-pew all you want, okay? You're about to be a Texas girl. You're allowed to do that. You can't assault rifle. That's crazy. Also, Heelys are back in style. Texas Heelys feature spurs, so when you stop, you get sparks. Not available on my Etsy, but I will 3D print.
I will 3D print,
yeah.
Based on commission. For me, it's the fact that there's, like, no beat, like, of hesitation. Like, it just comes out of your brain. It's kind of amazing, Matt.
That's pretty useless, to be honest. Like, well, like, I'm sure you're a similar person.
I
like,
think we're a similar breed.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when you're only calling that you're really sure of is creating. You were just this hamster wheel of nonsense. And most of my childhood was followed up with, why the fuck would you say that? and then I spent my life trying to get more people to let me get in front of a microphone. Yeah. And it's just been awesome.
It's been the best thing ever. Oh, what did you study for undergrad?
Marketing. Marketing and entrepreneurial studies.
Shut the front door. Did you really?
Yeah, barely retain any of that.
Okay, but it's in the blood.
But I'd say, like, overall, like, I went to college to experience college, and it was awesome, but I was a commuter, so I caught, like, the stigma. But my wife was homeschooled her whole life, so, like, we fit together.
Oh.
Except college.
Except college, okay.
But it's so weird to be with a homeschooler because she can teach herself anything.
Oh.
Because she learned with a textbook. Like, who else could read something and actually retain what they're talking about?
None of us.
Yeah, exactly.
Non-homeschoolers,
she's
right.
just a straight pimp at that, and I love that for her.
She's a straight pimp.
Dude, straight pimp it. Whatever she wants to learn how to do, she's going to do it. Just fucking crazy like that. We bought a house. She is the daughter of an architect. Her brother's an architect as well.
Oh, so they're the architects.
She's very into, like, interior design.
Oh,
and
it was beautiful. The wall I saw the wall.
Yeah, you did come in and you complimented her on that. That meant so much to me because, like, it's so nice when someone comes in, they see something you're great at, and they give you that reminder that you're great at it. You know, it's like those moments are always so pure. But our house is plaster. And she was trying to hang these large curtains. She's like, when the curtains go floor to ceiling, it makes the ceilings look higher. And I'm like, I want to be Tim Allen. I married Tim Allen. It's crazy, okay? That's the tool man right there. She geeks me out with that shit. And so I watched her for a week straight learning how to hang these curtains that bear, like, a lot of weight. And it's plaster, and she kept hitting, like, this metal, like, cover on, like, the electric behind the wall.
Yeah.
And so they keep falling off the wall because she couldn't go deep enough. And, like, I watched her almost burn a Home Depot to the ground. She was so frustrated. She's getting, like, diamond-level drill bits, like, some serious shit. And I come home every day, and she's wearing a mask and goggles, and she's on the fucking ladder, and she's going into this. And I'm just supportive husband, like, I'm going to go hide with the cat. Like,
yeah, we're over here.
Whatever happens.
Tim Allen.
But if she wants to do it, she's going to do it.
Yeah,
she's just one of those minds. And, like, I am there for insertion of ridiculous comments. That's all I have to offer.
Here for the hype.
And grunt work, you know? Like, I'm definitely her hype man. I'm her number one cheerleader. You know what I'm saying? Give her one of these.
One of
these.
One of these. But it's so cool to see the partnership between you guys, because I feel like you're INDPE, you know, and like she's
What
also
was
one of those. You know that song?
Don't start spouting off an acronym that I don't know what you're spelling.
IND. You don't know that song?
No, and I'm not a good speller.
Miss Independent.
Oh damn! No, I don't know that song.
INDP. You know
Don't
what that
crump.
means?
Chill. This ain't Step Up 2. This is my parents' basement.
I really do think that song was part of the Step Up 2 soundtrack.
God damn.
INDP.
I think one of my most intrusive thoughts is trying to recalibrate acronyms for my own personal use.
Like what?
Last night, me and my wife came up with HSA accounts that are now Hot Stuff Anonymous, where people buy kinky gifts without putting like a name or address on it, and then they try to claim it as a medical device.
HSA.
Yeah.
Honestly?
It's like, why do you need a leash? You're like, too much blood flow to the dome, dog.
Yeah,
like,
dog.
Listen, I've taken so much baby aspirin that they're worried about me having a Billy Mays level aneurysm. So.
Not that insert again.
That's one of my worst, most consistent bits. R.I.P. Billy Mays. He was an icon. Imagine someone telling you, like, you're going to do infomercials and you're going to be one of the biggest stars America's ever known. Like, Guy Fieri doesn't have shit on that guy.
Yeah, he's a legend. He's an icon. Hey, icon. Isn't that a Catholic thing?
Icon?
Yeah.
Like iconography?
Yeah, iconography.
We don't like that.
Okay, my bad.
We do make statues of saints, but that's an unrelated, totally not the same thing. Like I said,
You said
like,
wrong. You tried Protestant.
I have
but
my
wrong.
card. I have a lot of questions. Do you know what a relic is?
Okay. This is going to make me sound so ignorant. But a relic, I think of like Dracula and like to fight Dracula.
You might be on par in like certain understandings of what that is, but in a Catholic sense, a relic is a piece of a saint. Sometimes it's a finger bone or a tooth or things like that. When people, sainthood is us saying we believe for sure that they're in heaven. We have miracles to document.
To confirm.
You need 2 miracles to say you're getting in,
Right.
which I wonder why it's harder to get miracles these days. You know, it's just like, there's things like that where I'm like, okay,
Dang,
this is,
man.
now I'm starting to be a little sketchy. We're an hour 40 into this. Like, I'm allowed to start firing from the hip. The AI doesn't know what I'm kidding about. But a relic means like, okay, they definitely went to heaven. So we're going to parse their body out as holy items that will bless you. And you're like, really? So, St. Francis of Assisi, one of our most famous.
Right.
When you go to Assisi and you go to the cathedral, one of the weight-bearing pillars, like one of the construction, like, you get what I'm saying. One of the pillars that holds the weight of this entire church, his tomb is built into it to make sure that they didn't parse him out because they didn't want that done to him. It was so prevalent that they built him into a support beam to make sure they didn't parse him out. Pretty slick.
Smokes.
That's why I got my card. That's my cult.
He's like, hey.
Bang.
Good job.
I always describe, the sacraments as my passport, and I'm gonna be stamped the fuck up when I get there. Like,
dude, I was gonna say, your Catholic knowledge.
Every year of schooling I've ever had has had a Catholic class in it. I'm not, totally there, but I could definitely run around with some people and cause some nonsense.
Dang, okay, a hooligan.
Yeah, definitely a hooligan. Definitely,
But then, how does that relate to your own relationship with Jesus?
It's what I choose for it to be. Like, I think it's similar way, like, you grow up with people telling you how to do it. And I'm embracing my freedom at this stage of my life of saying, like, I know where God is in my life. When I have hard days, I pray. When I have good days, I say thank you. But I'm not going to let you make me feel shitty with an attendance policy.
Oh, gosh, that's crazy. That's not from God, dude.
Yeah, or saying that these are the decisions that divide us. Especially in a year as divisive as this. It's like, I don't dislike or love people based on their opinions that don't affect me.
Yes.
I have place in my life for you in certain degrees, and if you're good to me in that, I want the rest of your shit to be baller.
Yeah.
Because you could find God on a totally different day than when I try to push it towards you.
Yes.
I am not the evangelizing
It's a
type.
natural flow, like, of who you are as a person, no?
Yeah, and if there's a good place for me to tell you about, my feelings on it, like today has been, I'm happy to share that with people. But I am in no way, shape, or form trying to tell you that this is the necessity that you're missing out on, and it's why I'm better off than you. Like,
That's why Jesus never did that.
Yeah.
That's what the Pharisees did.
and there's so much piety in the world of religion, where it's just like you don't get people to come to the shows by forcing them,
Right.
And I see the songwriting calling as a religious one, where it's like I'm made to build spaces for you to grow more comfortable with yourself and your place in the world. Like, one of the biggest foundational beliefs that I grew up with is that God made you perfect the way you are. And there's so much going on in the world of people trying to claim who they are to other people.
Right.
And I wish everyone the best in that. But if on a more personal level, if you can accept that you are exactly what you are meant to be, then I don't need your approval. And I don't need you to accept what I do here, because I've accepted it and they've accepted it. So this is complete to me. And I think in that way, your faith can be a cure for loneliness, for the fickleness of what other people tell you need to be. It's just like, it is sturdier ground to stand on than most people get given. And it's such a blessing that I grew up in a religious family, and I married into a religious family that understand and share these things.
Right.
But then there also comes time and conversations where it's like, we don't need to agree on this to feel good about where we're at together. And if you want to force that on me, I will choose violence over honesty, and I'll make a scene,
Well, I feel like that's the thing about, like, our generation, is that we have a hunger. Okay, we have a distaste for, like, organized do's and don'ts, because we've seen how it fails us. Like, under, like, I don't know, a lot of these people that are like, oh, I'm Christian, and then they're one specific political party, and then they just hate people, or like just seeing people use the name of religion to push their own agenda of power. That has been something that we've seen consistently growing up, right?
Yeah.
And we're tired of that.
And it's especially disgusting in an election year where it's like, you use these same issues on us like they are the clear decision makers, and it's like, we already rehashed some of these things,
right?
And let's bear some room for things we don't like but are apparently there.
Right.
It's like, when certain things become illegal, you get black markets that do them, which is less safe.
Way less safe.
When there's not room for change, there is going to be breaking of these walls. But when there's also not, defined parameters,
Sure.
and people go to live outside that, that's where it starts to be difficult. It's like, I hate that you can't have these conversations with people without trying to instill in them something that if they don't want it, I ain't selling it to you.
That's the whole thing, is like, why do we, if you believe, okay, for me, a big turnoff for Christianity for me initially was I felt like people were trying to sell me Jesus. And then, but it wasn't enticing. But then when I met my friends who had a relationship with Jesus, that's when it became enticing. Because they were just living their life in relationship with God and just being who they are, and just it naturally flowed out of them. So I became curious. And when I would ask them, they would tell me about it, right? Like, we don't need to be salespeople for things for people to subscribe to, or like, if I believe a God exists, who am I to be a God over another person, right? Like, we're all on a journey. We all want to find truth. I want to believe that we all want to find truth.
Yeah.
That's a philosophical question that we can dive into another time. But so with like these religious beliefs, these certain parties that are like, okay, this is an issue that we're going to hyperfixate on, and we're going to do it on the name of God. First of all, if people don't have a relationship with God, why do they need to obey these rules that come with, for people who might have a relationship with God? Like, you don't adhere, like when you were growing up, you weren't adhering to the rules of MC because, like, okay, there were probably times where you felt you had to, but it was your respect and love for MC that you were like, okay, I will adhere to this. That came out. It wasn't a random stranger lady that was telling you what to do, right?
Well, and we just had a conversation about that. I'm very close with my mother. We talk about a lot of things.
Aww.
And I told her, I was like, there's good and bad manipulation in the world. Every time you have an opportunity to talk to someone, like, you are manipulating the way that you feel about things, and there's encoding and decoding. It's this ugly word in our minds, but you treat people how you want to be treated. That's a manipulation, and it's a positive one. And that word is just it's a verb that gets a bad context. But I told her, I was like, as my mother, the greatest manipulation that you ever put into my life, the greatest way that you gave me formative instruction was to teach me to want to do well by you, because the thing I am most scared of is losing your love and to be disappointed, to feel like a disappointment to you. When you have a good relationship like that with God, it's not that I'm afraid of the all-knowing and the all-loving. It's that I don't want to lose that.
But do you feel like MC would ever not love you, though?
She scared the shit out of me a couple of times. I felt it. I felt the maybe, you know? And I think that's a good thing to have with people. You know, like my wife and I, like, part of me being as ridiculous as I can be with her is because I want to be so honest all the time. Because the thing I want to fear the most is being dishonest with her again. I don't ever want to go back there.
Right.
In those points in life, like, you start to redefine your values, and you're on the nose and saying, like, you need to find what you hold sacred, and it's personal. You can share that with people, but you don't force other people to look at the same thing as you in the world. It's your own view.
You can't.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. People don't. When's the last time that you heard somebody go, you know what? When someone was, like, forcing this down my throat, that's when I was finally like, oh my gosh, I'm going to change my opinion. Never.
Yeah. How often in real life do you actually say, you know what? You're right. You know, like, it's not something we do. And I'm trying to be more susceptible to that. When someone says something brilliant to me, like I had an argument with someone last week, and I told my mother about it, and she goes, shouldn't have done that. You should apologize. And I went, oh, you know what? You're right. Fuck, Mom. Come on,
Dang,
MC.
MC, why are you spitting so good right now?
You gotta have people like that in your life, for sure.
When you talked about, oh, frick, I really want to talk about this.
Go ahead.
Like, about, like, losing love.
Losing love that felt unconditional before.
Whoa.
And then I put it in question.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I know that as a direct consequence of my own actions. Because you can only be responsible for you.
Right.
But when someone shows you an endless well of the thing that fuels your life most, and I got that with my mother, I got that with my wife, I got that with my sister and my brothers. Like, when people offer you that and you soil it, I think that's one of the most sinful things that you can have. Because that's God's way of manifesting in your life and saying, this is what this looks like on a human level. When it comes to a godly level, you cannot comprehend what unconditional love is. That's why, like, so many folks that are pushing away, like the recovering Catholics of the world, like, so many folks are pushing away. I ain't here to bring you back into the fold, but through my own view of it and my own take on it, I hope that one day you get to turn the corner too and have it be something great in your life, and to fall into that unconditional well, and to fear losing that in a way that's constructive.
I think my face is more of, like, processing what you're saying, because I feel like something that I've heard with my recovering Catholic friends is, like, the sense of feeling like you had to work to receive love from God. Like, you had to be XYZ, you had to follow XYZ rules.
Yeah, I think that's it depends on how you look at it. Like, one thing that I always say that folks that are bilingual have a different idea of context and perception and the essence of words, because you have two ways to say it, and sometimes one's more poignant than the other.
Yeah.
If you only speak one faith, then you only have that one view of how that looks.
Right.
And you said you came from a Confucian background. It's like, isn't the Tao Confucian?
I'm not sure. My dad did. And then, like, for me in college, I was exposed to a lot of different faiths.
And I think that's the best thing for all of us is to be like, I liked that of this. I like this of that. It's like
we're all trying to point to truth, right?
Yeah. Yoga has been a spiritual pursuit in a lot of ways, and like, you get to the end of 45 minutes of trying to let go of certain tension and certain feelings, and then someone says something brilliant in your ear, like, you need to be grateful right now for the floor that you're laying on, for the chance to take another breath in and another breath out, for the chance to walk out of here and see a world that you can make something of, rather than a world that can make something of you, and to start to express your gratitude through your actions. It's like when I hear things like that, I'm reminded of my faith, but I'm also contradicting the way that they're telling me to think about it. It's like, I am not beholden to your view of this. I am making my own of it. And if you don't cross-train your life, if you don't have the wild ambition to move somewhere and see something new, or to talk to somebody new, or to be something new, then you never see the error of your old thinking, and you never start to round out the jagged orange where you're going to put yourself in a corner and find yourself kicking at the wall, figuring out what the fuck is wrong with this.
I think it's cool that you're on this like journey of figuring out like, what is it that I believe? What is something that's fundamentally true that you're feeling and you're like living? And yeah, man.
And I feel good that I know what I believe. I just don't think I had to believe it forever.
Whoa, cool. Yeah.
I think it's welcome to change.
Oh, 100%. Like for me, the only thing, when people are like, so what kind of Christian are you? Or like all of that. I mean, for me, I was just having this conversation with like another, what's up with me and all these 60-something year olds? Like another like retired person.
I'm going to say it, and it's going to come out way funnier this time. Gangs. No. Unfortunately, you just got...
It's too real because I'm Asian lady. You know, that's just...
Is that a stereotype?
Yeah, like older guys and like Asian girly pops. That's too real. Nicolas Cage, example number 1.
I mean, I think sugar daddies are just rampant in the world. And I think the transparency makes it better.
You're like, yeah, it is what it is. Is that what people like? Yeah.
I think people pretending like it's a typical love story is a weird thing. Like, no, he helps financially provide for me, and
when there's a more than like 25-year age gap, yeah, bro. That's just, I mean,
you're welcome to call it whatever you want,
right.
But from my seat, it looks you bought, you know, I don't even want to say it.
Bugatti.
Maybe. That'd be slick.
That'd be slick.
It's a 2002 Chevy Impala. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? The eclectic collector's edition.
Once a month it gets detailed because Mama likes to eat and drive.
Not Mama. What is? I can't put this on.
I found that at a.
Am I gonna get it lice?
So leading up to that question.
Oh no.
I used to play occasionally at this, like, I would call it an Irish themed Hooters.
Oh.
Like very short skirt,
yeah,
large breasted young ladies. Yeah.
Irish. Yeah.
As you'd imagine, no male waiters. Just bodacious waitresses.
Bodacious, indeed.
And it was a funny gig. And one time I saw that on the side of the stage, and I was like, wow, hope someone comes back for that. And I came back 2 months later, no one taking it. I said,
it's mine now.
It's mine now.
Let's go. We're on this pointing truth. I don't know what we're
we're also we're much deeper than these shows normally go. So someone, if you made it to the end,
love you,
bless you. I mean, sincerely, like, tell me what kind of Cheez-Its you want to see invented next. You know, like
I love that.
Someone told me Hulk green today. I was like, that's foul. But if they were like veggie,
like spinach,
well, like picture the vegans of the world.
For the vegans, I was just gonna say for the Canaans.
For the Canaans, let's make that the new stereotype, or let's just call them a Canaan.
Yeah, okay. Honk yeah.
Honk yeah, bro.
So once again, it's etsy.com.
Are you looking for a honk yeah mouth queef only webkins?
Not sponsored by me whatsoever.
Jesus. No, you can't deny this. I mean, you're in now. I mean, there's a promo code that has your name on it. Just I didn't tell you.
BOGO.
As we conclude, where can they follow you at? What would you like to promote?
I would say I'm on my private girl era on Instagram, but please do follow. The reason I did that was so that I can see like who, you know, who's following and who I can connect with too. Because I felt like it's such like a one-way weird relationship when people just like follow and I don't know who's following. I want to like see, you know, Zara from Russia, 19 with a star sign of Leo, you know, like
isn't Zara like royalty?
Is it?
And isn't Zara like a jewelry brand or a
clothing brand? Yeah. But that's
so this might be some kind of clothing based royalty that's following.
Oh, hello. Hey, Zara.
I would like to be an oligarch one day.
Just a quirky little idea.
Just a cutesy little thing for me.
Like
check out my webcams. I'm building an empire.
The things that I asked for my tooth fairy for.
My Roblox is unhinged.
It's the coffee. So it's Serin Oh official. So do I spell it?
Just remember it's OHO.
Oh, official. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully new acoustic tunes coming out on Spotify.
I love it.
Yeah.
This has been a lovely conversation. Unhinged, inspiring, driven by faith, caffeine, and a pink big bird.
And Etsy.
When are you moving?
When am I moving? August 2nd.
Okay. Can I come visit?
Please come visit. Are you kidding?
I don't want to go to your church. Goes against my faith, but I'd like to hang out.
He said, Catholic card.
I got my card. I'll take a tour during non-working hours, but I don't go to your practice.
Crazy. Dude, I really want to go to a Catholic church.
If you want to go before you leave, I'll take you to a good one.
Shut the front door. Are you for real?
You want to go to a Latin one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Wait, what time? Is it on Saturdays ever? Or
it's mainly on Saturdays, I believe. I'll check with my buddy. It'll open your mind. It's bizarre.
Dude, I would love to.
I've only gone on like 2 Latin ones, like you know, like Lutherans were a spin-off Catholicism when it was like, we're going to translate this into the language of the people. It's not just going to be Latin. And that pissed us off. And then like 100 years later, we did this Reformation where we were like, this was our idea. Now it's in your language. It was a wild call. But there's still some OGs holding it down out there in Latin.
Yeah, I would. This is on video now. I would love. That
cool.
would be. Yeah.
Did you know in churches when they have like the arch ceiling and they have like they used to have the altar against the back wall and there'll be an arch ceiling. It was because a Catholic priest couldn't look at you while he was performing the sacrament. So he would speak towards the wall and it would reflect up the wall and project out into the room.
Acoustics.
Yeah, acoustics is really cool.
Whoa.
But like it was like hidden from you in that kind of a way. Like it was this weird thing, like you would go there and recite things that you have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah.
And like, here's the reason you're coming today. Attendance is important. My robe looks great. And we're taking donations. Buy your ticket to heaven.
Buy a ticket to heaven. No.
We're really good at donations.
Wow.
Really good.
That is, you know what? But because of those donations, y'all really got the art down.
We have so much gold.
Yeah, y'all do.
I think the church came out a couple years ago and gave like an estimate of the net worth. And it was somewhere in like the billions.
Oh my God.
That's not true.
It's not?
Trillions of dollars, easily.
I think so.
I'd say it's probably if you accumulated all the land of the Catholic Church, it'd probably be like the 5th largest country in the world. Because think it, all over the planet, we don't rent churches. Okay, we own land. We build churches. We rent to other churches, and then we take it back. Okay, and we've accumulated gold, and it's like, you ever gone to the Vatican?
Yes.
How much of the art in the Vatican, how much would you say that's worth?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's like in the center of
think about that. And that's not a museum de tour. That's a country in the middle of Italy. Literally a country.
Right. It's like it's independent.
It's independent.
Yeah.
Which has some sketchy background. Used to be a bit of a situation and might still be.
No, I don't know the depths of the sketchiness.
Let's get off the internet before I tell you some shit. But
anywho, love you guys. Bye.
You are a wonderful person, Sarah. Thank you for coming on today.